You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. Today, we have another amazing show lineup for y'all today. And today, we're going to talk to a fashion designer. She's a public figure. She's also a podcast host. She is a beauty queen. She's about to get married. She's about to be syndicated. She's doing big things, about to do major things on radio and just media in itself. We're going to talk about just her life story, what she did to get into fitness and fashion design and being her own boss as a business owner. And also talk about her story, her background story, and podcasting. So first and foremost, Miss Deanna Marie, how you doing?
Wow. Thank you, Shamaya, for that incredible introduction. That was awesome. I'm like over here like, oh my God, I'm sweating. Now I have something to live up to.
Man, I appreciate it, man. It's great to have you on. Before we talk about your podcasting and obviously your businesses and stuff, kind of touch on the audience a little bit about who you are and what inspired you to take the path you take.
Sure. Well, you know, I'm a woman that believes that everything happens for a reason. My life hasn't been easy. I come from a broken home. My father was very abusive to myself and my mother. I continued that pattern. You know, I think when you're exposed to it, we are more apt to go down the same path. Getting involved with many abusive men actually after that. Drugs. I'm a human trafficking survivor because of getting into one of those relationships. And then, you know, I became wildly successful with my late husband. He kind of was like my knight in shining armor and rescued me. So there's a lot of things that happened in my, you know, younger years that really motivated me and made me very driven to become more than, you know, those labels that we put on ourselves of being from a broken home or being abused and, you know, a human trafficking survivor, using drugs. And, you know, I have a little bit of a criminal record as well. So, you know, I didn't allow those things to hold me back. And, you know, I think that a lot of those things had to happen to me to create the story that I'm sharing with people today. And that, you know, no matter what we go through, we can always get to a place where we are living our dream or creating the life that we envision for ourselves. And I think I'm a living example of that, from where I've been to what I've gone through to where I am today.
And with that, when you decided to be an entrepreneur, did you have a personal, like, ambitious, like, dream since you were little, or was it more of a natural process of you just saying, you know what, yeah, it's time to start a business? What kind of gave the light bulb to go off for you?
So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My father had his own business, you know, before he kind of like went a little off the trails. And then my grandfather was an entrepreneur on my mother's side. They had a printing business here in Chicago, downtown Chicago, that did a lot of printing for all the major news networks and everything here in the Chicagoland area. So I was raised around entrepreneurs. So it's all I really knew. When I started working, I did, you know, actually my first like business, so to speak, was like babysitting, cutting grass and cleaning houses. I had a best friend and we made up flyers, and I papered probably in a 2-mile radius around my whole, like around my mother's house. And I hustled my butt off at 13. And then I couldn't wait to start working like at other places. And then from there, after when I turned 18, I became an entrepreneur for myself again. So I think you either are born an entrepreneur or you're born into a family of entrepreneurs, and you either have the spirit or you don't.
I like that. And when someone's listening to this right now, their feelings might get hurt just a little bit. So when you say that, is it possible for someone to learn the ropes to become an entrepreneur, even if they weren't from a background, a family that supported that idea?
Well, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, of course, and we don't want to exclude anyone. I think that if you have the desire and that is your true purpose, you are able to become whatever you want to be, whether that's an entrepreneur, a ballerina, an artist. So I think that we are capable of anything that we have set our minds to. And we have so many examples and resources out there from wildly successful entrepreneurs, that anyone can tap into those resources and become exactly who they want to be.
Listen, I'm Focus Radio talking to Deanna Marie, and with you, I'm setting that up for this question because you are not a stranger to success. I mean, you have many, many accomplishments, including there's a time you closed a $20 million contract.
Yes.
If you can share with the audience, how the heck did you do that? And man,
Yeah.
what's the backstory?
That was probably one of the biggest accomplishments in my whole life from a business perspective. I closed a lot of big contracts, and that was in the automotive industry, where my late husband and I had 5 businesses, and I was great at contracts. I got the contract for Verizon, got the contract for First Group America, or First America, I think they're called now, which was Greyhound, First Student, First Vehicle, First Transit. And that was several $1 million in itself as well. So I was great at negotiating and doing bids and winning contracts because of how thorough I was and detailed. That was definitely like a very proud moment for myself, because I had to fight very hard. And anybody that's in contracting and doing bids for anything, it doesn't matter if it's automotive, but whatever it might be, that it's a very tedious process. And if you don't do your homework and don't dot your I's and cross your T's and really add a little extra something to your bid, they're likely not going to go with you unless you're really giving a low price that probably would put you out of business. So I did my homework. I stayed very tight with the purchasing manager, business bidding director. There's many different people that are involved in that process, especially something that large. But that was a great win, and I know we got challenged after we won it, and we had to get an attorney involved to maintain our ownership over that bid to supply the product that we had won the business for.
And with all of that activity that took place, I mean, you're an expert in this because you're doing it. And I say that because I know some people don't like when I say expert, but I like saying it because it's true. If I say it, it's true because you're doing it. And if you weren't doing it, I wouldn't be saying you're expert. I just had to get that out there. But with you, with those skill sets to close those type of contracts, the responsibility sounds like it's super great. And it's a lot of things on your plate that you have to manage. So I'm sure you have a team. How do you manage your team and also continue to deliver for your clients?
Well, back then, so I was vice president of key accounts and business operations. My husband, my late husband, was grooming me to be president. I think that if you're a leader at heart, that it's going to be very easy to lead your team. I did have a team. We had about 150 employees, well, almost 200 at one point. But my whole executive team reported to me. I oversaw our financials, our P&L, our balance sheet. I oversaw everything that happened, like the production. I oversaw every little detail in the business, because I was a little bit of a micromanager, not to the point where I didn't empower my leaders to lead, but to the point where I wanted to make sure that we were being profitable and that they were getting their job done as a leader, doing reviews, keeping employees happy, keeping morale up. When you're that, because we did about 30 million in sales, when you're at that level, it can still considered a small business, but as an entrepreneur at that level, those are some serious dollars to be responsible for. You have loans from the bank, you have commercial properties that, commercial buildings. We were in a 100,000 square foot facility. So you have responsibilities for maintenance. There's a lot of different things that go on, and either you thrive in something like that or you do not. And I personally, I'm very type A. I thrive in having a lot going on, and that's probably why I'm able to do all the things I do now. And, I became a greater leader because of those experiences. And it's really helped me pad my resume, so to speak, of what I've been through, what I'm capable of, and the things that I have seen and done in my professional life.
And you also are a fashion designer, a bodybuilder, and into skincare.
Former fashion designer. I might get back into it. Former skincare expert. Well, I don't know if you can ever be a former skincare expert, but I did, after my husband passed away, my dream was to get into fashion. I love clothes. I'm a fashionista at heart. I have like 3 closets full of clothes and shoes and purses. I was in such a state of turmoil and spinning after my husband passed away because my life had completely shifted and everything that I had built was taken from me. And so I mean, I had always had the dream to get involved in designing and creating my own label, that I did not do my homework. I was so eager. And even though I had learned all these lessons from running these businesses, I was just kind of in a state of like, I gotta do it. I gotta get it done. That I didn't do my homework. And I ultimately probably invested way too much money in creating 3 collections. I was successful in the way that I built a great brand. I designed incredible clothes, but fashion is a different type of animal. All the different things that go into creating one piece of clothing is very intricate. And I think that unless you know that, it's a lot more than what you anticipate. So I went with a consulting firm to get it started. In hindsight, I would have done all my homework and would have farmed out all those different things that need to be done to create one piece of, one design. Because it would have saved me a lot of money in the long run. But I did create three great collections. I did a Kickstarter that was successful. I raised over $5,000. I did my first production run and filled all those orders. Then I did my last collection, was very avant-garde, very what's the word I'm looking for, but just very like creative. And I did a big fashion show here in Chicago with 6 other Chicago-based designers against human trafficking. It was a huge event, over 300 people, raised about $30,000. And that was my finale. During that whole stint, I was on the local news in Rhode Island for their fashion week. I was here. I was a finalist for the Cadillac Design Challenge for Style Chicago. So I did have a lot of successes when it comes to that, but monetarily, it's a lot more costly than people think if you're going to design from scratch your own piece of clothing.
You listen to I'm Focus Radio, talking to our guest, Deanna Marie, and you have a podcast. I mean, it's not like you're busy or anything, you know what I'm saying? So you have a podcast website, labelfreepodcast.com. I mean, it sounds like you always go after everything you put your mind to. So what was this project? What was your goal with starting this platform?
So Shemaya, yes, like I said, a type A. And when I get an idea in my head, I just go for it. After going through all the things I went through in my younger years and my becoming a widow, going through the struggles with the family of trying to get something from what I had built for almost 20 years, I had realized that I had a lot of labels put on me. And so after I ended the fashion career, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to throw any more money at this. I'm just going to end it now. I got a random email. I don't know how I got this and how to start a podcast. And I didn't know what a podcast was. This was in 2019. I didn't. And so I started reading it and I reached out to friends and family and I'm just like, I don't know who the F I think I am, but I'm going to start a podcast. And it started out as a passion project. And between my conversations with my best friend and now my co-host, landed on Label Free, to live your best life, live label free, because I finally came to a point where I'm no longer going to, let being a victim of human trafficking hold me back. I'm no longer going to let the label of a widow hold me back. I'm no longer going to let the label of being abused by my father, by my boyfriends hold me back. I'm not going to let any of these self-limiting beliefs hold me back from stepping into my voice and sharing my story to empower and inspire other people to do the same thing. And so since 2019 to now, my message has been very well received. And, we have no shortage of people that want to come on that align with the message, which I think is so powerful in itself that, I cannot, even as successful as it has become and where we're going, I can never forget. And I tell my team all the time, we can never forget our why. And the reason why we're doing this, because we are here to help others drop those labels that are holding them back as well.
And to the women who are listening to this episode, I mean, you are an example of a go-getter. And for those who are hungry but maybe not have the same amount of confidence as you do, what does it truly take to never quit being your own boss and making these major moves? What is your secret sauce that has kept you motivated to keep going?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm like anybody else. I'm fearful. I think I shared with you, I'm going to be nationally syndicated this month, on air personality. I'm scared of that too. Like I'm going to be exposed even more. There's always the fear of failure, as a former bodybuilder, good at stepping on stage in front of hundreds of people, almost nearly naked, is a scary thing. And no matter what fears have popped up for me along the way, I have to be true to myself and pursue those passions and those dreams that really put my soul on fire. And I think that once we stop doing that, if we don't face those fears, it's an early death sentence really to our soul. And so for me, like that's not an option. Even now, I'm in my 40s, and I'm okay saying I'm in my 40s because I've lived a huge life and I'm not done yet. I've faced every fear that I've ever had throughout this journey of life. And sometimes I'm successful and sometimes, it's a learning lesson. I don't like to use the word failure because I don't believe that if we are pursuing the things that are truly our life's purpose, that it's not a failure. It's, we've learned something from it. Like the fashion career that I did for a couple of years, I learned a lot. And if I ever went back into it, I would know more of what to do, which is to say, who knows, I might get back into it. Maybe it was necessary for me to go through those challenges to learn so that the next time when I go do it again, that I can be wildly successful doing it. So, I'd say face your fears. Everybody's fearful, I think. And the difference is those people that are willing to take that step forward into the darkness of not knowing, and those that are like, oh, I need the flashlight before I go in. So, nothing hurts but a try, right?
Yeah, that's right. Listen to Refocus Radio, talking to Deanna Marie. And when you are living your life journey, seems like you really press to make the best of what you had. What excites you the most? Like when you get up, what drives you to say, you know what, heck yeah, I'm gonna go for it? What is your escape, if you will, that excites you to keep going and be motivated to just have that enthusiasm?
Yeah. I think to remind myself from where I've been to where I am today and just all the struggles in between, because it hasn't been, I think it's relative for anyone, right? Where life isn't easy. No matter whether you are raised in a multi-million-dollar home and have the best parents, you're going to have things that come up where, you don't get your way, or you are on the street homeless and you're learning how to survive. Life isn't easy. So it's all relative to anyone. But I think what drives me is that there's, we watching my late husband fight his battle or lose his battle with life was a huge, reality check for me. And to know that I'm still alive and healthy and I have a chance every day to get up and make a difference and to live this life purposeful, to live my life in peace, joyful, grateful, to have family and friends around me. I think those are the things that motivate me the most, because at any moment that can all be taken away like that.
It's interesting you said that because I'm a very visual person, so I visualize basically like what you're saying. Living your life full of purpose is like freedom, but
Yeah.
not living your life in purpose is almost like imprisonment, because you're constantly frustrated, and you're wondering why life is not the way you want it to be. But I think you unlock it once you tap into that purpose. And you mentioned basically gratitude too. Gratitude will allow you. I had someone on my show recently. He was talking about one thing that he does, and he's like a big shot in real estate. He said one thing he does is whenever life hits him, he says, I just find something to be thankful for. Mm-hmm. And then he said that unlocks his mind to be free from the storm, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
and I
sure.
think a lot of people go through that. When you are going through storms, what's some of the things you try to do to remind yourself that this is just another season to grow?
I mean, no one wants to struggle and nobody wants to be in the midst of that storm, right? But I've found this stage in my life that to be thankful for that storm because that's teaching you something. And on the other side of it, when it passes, there's even more opportunity if you allow yourself to tap into the lesson, tap into the opportunity that will come from the lesson. And so, if I'm smooth sailing for a while, I yearn for a storm to come so that I can allow myself to grow even more. So, I mean, I'm glad you asked me that because I've thought about that a lot. And when things are just really calm for me, I'm like, well, wait a second, I'm not getting challenged. I'm not growing. And there's no opportunity that comes from no challenges. And so at this point, the challenges are different. Thank God. I don't want to be battling abusive boyfriends or abusive father. I want to battle challenges in getting my businesses to grow. And so I welcome them at this point because I know that there's opportunity on the other side of it.
Listen, I'm Refocus Radio talking to our guest, Deanna Marie. And man, as we are wrapping this up, when people are listening to this show, what's the best call to action that you want them to take so that they can stay up to date in your world?
Well, like with all of us podcasters, the best way to support us is to follow us on social media, follow me on social media, or all of my, where you like get your favorite podcast, favorite podcatcher, follow me there, subscribe to my YouTube. If you want to reach out and message me, I am all open. I'm open and willing to listen to anything you have to say, any input, have any questions. So you Google my name, you'll find me. Google search Label Free Podcast, you'll find us. So labelfreepodcast.com or, all the social media handles.
Once again, listen, on Refocus Radio, I want to say thank you to Deanna Marie. Congrats on your recent events that are coming in the future, and best wishes to everything you tap into. Appreciate you taking your time talking to us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Shemaya.